So, welcome back to Paris again, and I have a new guest here in the small little studio. And it has been a very interesting discussion here in the Nordic Pavilion about the Samas and the Arctics. Welcome. Can I have your name?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm Jannie. I belong to the Saami people, the indigenous people of Europe, and we live in the Arctic. We're also permanent participants together with states. We have working with the Arctic Council. In the Arctic Council, the permanent participants they do have the same right to speak and the same right by the table as the states does, and therefore the Arctic Council is such a great working spot, working forum for us. Yeah.
And what is the role of the Sami in the negotiation process?
The role of the Saami in the negotiation process is not at all like the Arctic Council, which is very bad because within the climate change mitigation and the climate change adaptation, the indigenous peoples have a vital role, and therefore it's really bad that we are not heard and that our rights are not being taken good care of.
Was
as it
that
is-
on the discussion in your side event here today?
No, it was not.
What was the
Because-
meaning of the side event? Was it to do?
So the side event was a presentation of our work within the Arctic Council that has been going on methane and short-lived climate forces as black carbon. Because we are heavily affected, and the black carbon it doesn't move us as from the location where it was released as much as other short-lived climate forces or contributors, contaminants. They are quite local, and therefore they have huge effect. So the Arctic Council has made a study upon those things as well, and we have been involved in the whole process, the whole initiation of the process, and there were good recommendations coming out of that process, and especially being the indigenous of Arctic, we are heavily affected about the climate in the Arctic, and also the local contributions. So from years to years, the glaciers and the snow that's usually stays on the mountains, they are decreasing, which makes our work more complicated. But also it's a health effect issue as well. A lot of transportation, it's hard to reach some areas, especially in Greenland, for example, or in Russia. And therefore you need transportation, you need diesel to be able to transport yourself. But also back in Sweden and Norway and Finland, we have heavily our land that we are tending the reindeers. They are being exposed to tourism, to new roads, to minings, to windmill parks, to hydropower dams, and therefore we need transportation to go around and about it with the reindeers.
So, how do you feel the response is from the people who are taking decision in this area?
Well, it's different because when you're in the Arctic Council working, so I've been a part in the working group with the task force on black carbon and methane gas, and also involved with AMAC, which is a working group under Arctic Council that do research. And then you talk to researchers, and they are not like politicians, so they really want to do the research well, and they want to look at all the aspects, and therefore it's good to be directly involved with them and have a good relationship with them, to build up that trust, so I can be able to contribute with my community and the indigenous people's knowledge, what we have and what we know, and how you can go about certain issues and such things. Yeah.
When you hear the word of carbon neutral, fossil-free Sweden, what is your feeling? Is that something that you would like to see?
Of course, in one way, like we need green energy, truly green energy, that are not always defined as we would see it being green energy, but there have been research going on, especially like on windmill parks and where there are best strategically to get more energy out, and that's by the shoreline. And Sweden is not putting them on the shoreline, on the coastlines. They're putting them inside our territories, and they're spreading them out in scoops because we're not in dialogue. So if all the windmill projects would have been in dialogue with the Saami, we could have put them in a strategic place, or at least been involved in this situation, because right now they're not generating the energy that they need, or they could. And if they would have been placed on the coastline, that's where most people live, the transportation and the loss of energy wouldn't have been as big as it's going to be. So there are good and bad solutions to good problems.
But that means that you have a lot of things to talk around in your council and to negotiate with the government.
Yes.
But when we talk about adaptation, that is a very big issue for the North and also the Arctic.
Yes.
How it's your feeling as a young person to see the problem coming up?
No, I'm positive. When I look to my communities and to the rangers herder, for example, we've had issues with snowmobiles, for example, that they are releasing a lot of black carbon and soot, and it gets stuck on you, and you inhale it throughout the day, and then you get sick, and you get people also sick that you are being around, because they also will inhale it when they need to, because it's stuck. For example, it makes me sick. But what one community did, that they changed the fuels, and they have seen good positive health effect of that. Also, many Sami communities have put GPS transmitters on the reindeer, some of the reindeers, so they can more see where the reindeers are, and therefore they don't have to spend all this fuel on going around and searching for the reindeers as such. So there are adaptation strategies to a sustainable community as well.
And of course, it must be also a question around the water issue and the water level, but also weather system. I discussed with some people up in the north of Sweden about the reindeers and the shifting climate. When you have a warm day, you have a cold day, and the reindeer couldn't get the food because it was so hard snow.
Yes,
so you had to move the reindeer to other places.
Yeah, I could probably spend the whole day talking about all of the effects of the reindeers and the Saamis that we are experiencing and have been experiencing. Coming back to the food source for the reindeers, it's also that they don't smell the food, because usually they smell the food throughout the snow and then they dig. But there's because of change in temperatures, there's an ice core, and that stops the smell from reaching the reindeer, so they don't dig, even though sometimes they come through the ice layer, sometimes they're not strong enough. And so we have all of these issues. But what I missed from when we talk COP, the Arctic is not mentioned, and the Arctic is affecting the whole globe. What's happening in the Arctic is affecting everybody. And that's not mentioned of either the politicians or the delegates or the experts in the science and the COP as whole. So Arctic is heavily forgotten.
Let that be the voice from you here in Paris to the decision makers.
Yes.
And hope that your council will have a stronger voice in the discussion with the political leaders further on. Thank you very much for your contribution today.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.